まさかよそ見してないわよね。私のステージよく見てなさい。タイムトゥーシャイン。アイドルは常に完璧じゃないと。胸のリズムに身を任せて。ほとばしる感情を味わって。溢れる情熱を込めて。テネブレアのフォトチャンス。これであなたも私のファンね。歌うことをやめない限り私たちは永遠に輝くわ。アイドルは常に完璧じゃないと。
さて耐えられるかな。戦う順果てしない苦痛。
私のアイドルは常に完璧じゃないと。タイムトゥーシャ。胸のリズムに身を任せて。私のステ激しく
始末してやろう。始末してやろう。さあ君たちに勝利を授けよう。何いいよ全部飲んで。
タイムテネブレアのフォトチャンス。これであなたも私のファンね。歌うことをやめない限り私たちは永遠に輝くわ。憧れの星がもっとこの歌で癒してみせます。はーい、いきますよ。準備は攻撃と防御を紙一重。方向皆の力になれるのであれば。呼びました。力が湧いてきますね。はーい、流れを感じます。よいしょっとー。はっ激しくはってや。タイムトゥーシャイン。アイドルは常に完璧じゃないと。はーせはっ私のほとばしる感情を味わって。すごいです。宇宙一の有名人と衝撃のスキャンダル。こんな記事が出たらって想像したことある？私はあるけど。
Hey guys, Misery here, back with another CZN video. And in today's video, we just got news in the full release of Tenebria's kit. And just based off of looking at first glance, she kind of looks like a confusing unit. There is a lot of text on her epiphanies and cards, and I think a lot of people are going to be confused on how to actually properly use her. Starting off with this first epiphany here, we have Start the Music. This is going to be kind of like her starting card that depends on which epiphany you go, is going to choose what type of build you're trying to go for Tenebria. So as you take a glance at the text on the epiphanies, each of these ones are going to create different rhythm cards, and rhythm cards are kind of like what Tenebria scales off of and revolves around. So there are rhythm cards such as rhythm crescendo, rhythm staccato, rhythm fortissimo, rhythm fermata, and rhythm arpeggio. But also, not only is this going to create that specific rhythm card, it's going to exhaust all basic attack cards. So this could potentially save us up to 60 save data in our decks, which gives us a lot of room for improvement in different combos, because I'm pretty sure this is just out of the entire deck, including like the draw pile and whatnot. So if you go into a piece of content using 3 decks with all basic cards, you just use this, I'm pretty sure it just exhausts all basic attack cards and they're out of the cycle. But yeah, that's our first card, Start the Music, and kind of like what it is about. Now moving on, I will show the rhythm cards and actually what they do, since we just went over like, you know, the specific Start the Musics that create specific rhythm cards. So first off, we just have this basic rhythm, 60% damage plus 30% damage amount for each rhythm, and activates 1 rhythm in hand. This is kind of just like the default base rhythm. And then we have rhythm crescendo, 180% damage plus 40% damage amount for each rhythm in graveyard for 1 turn. Decrease cost of the next rhythm card activated by 1. So this will save you some AP, and it does scale off of how many rhythm cards are in graveyard. If you've ever played K1, it's kind of similar in a way to how, you know, he can exhaust futility in the graveyard due to his E3 or potentially Bria. This rhythm crescendo just gives more damage and scales off of how many rhythm cards are in graveyard. And then moving on to rhythm staccato, this is 80% damage plus 50% damage amount for each rhythm. If the last card activated was a rhythm card, increase cost by 1. So ideally you do not want to use a rhythm card before using the staccato, because then it's going to go to 2 costs and not 1. Moving on to rhythm fortissimo, this has linked and retained, so you know there's going to be a little synergy there with hiding Marie, being able to link these rhythm cards. This one basically does 90% damage plus 55% damage amount for each linked rhythm before activation. When 3 or more cards are linked, add 1 hit. So this kind of scales like Thread of Light, where it scales off of how many linked cards you have. This also has retain, so you can just build up those links over time and then go for a huge nuke. And this is going to add 1 hit if there's 3 or more linked cards. And then moving on to Rhythm Fermata, this is going to have haste. It's going to be able to select 1 of 4 rhythm cards, change all rhythm cards into the selected card for 1 turn, and draw 2 of them. So if you're using this with something like Arpeggio, as you see below, like you create a bunch of arpeggios with the start of music, if you go that specific epiphany, it's going to clog the draw pile. You use this Rhythm Fermata, and then you can draw 2 of them instantly. Like just in general, Tenebria, she puts a lot of like cards in the draw pile, but she has ways to get them out through her epiphany. So if you aren't playing her correctly, she's definitely going to brick the cycle. And just due to how much text is on her cards, she's going to be hard to cycle and play properly is what I'm assuming. But yeah, those are the first 5 rhythm cards. Moving on to the next one, Rhythm Arpeggio. There's actually 6 of these. There is 1 more below, but it's not in this photo, but it's basically just the same as the 4 cost one, just 5 costs. But basically the first 2 arpeggios, these are going to do damage for each rhythm and then draw a certain amount of lowest cost rhythm cards and decrease cost by 1 until activated. But as you guys see, as the cost gets higher, it actually changes, because the 2 cost and the 3 cost one also give a percentage of damage for each rhythm, but it also activates one of the highest cost rhythm cards in hand. It doesn't draw like the first 2. And then the last one also going to give a percentage damage amount for each rhythm, and then decrease cost of this card by 1 for each rhythm card in graveyard. And that is 4 costs. Like I said, there is a 5 cost one also beneath this, so those are going to be pretty expensive cards that you want to get the cost down of. And yeah, those are all of our rhythm cards and kind of what they do, a little general rundown, not anything too in depth, but just reading off of what we know and me trying to explain it best, help you guys get a grasp and understanding of how these actually work. And then moving on to our next epiphany card, we have Spotlight. I'm not going to go over every specific epiphany. You can pause the video if you want to look at like a certain one, but yeah, the Spotlight card of her, it kind of just looks like it's going to be able to draw and move a lot of cards around the cycle and deck. Like this first one, move 2 rhythm cards to hand, decrease cost of one of those cards by 2 until activated. Theoretically, this is only saving you 1 AP because you do need to still spend 1 AP for the Spotlight itself. Something like this middle one here with the 2 cost one, select and move up to 2 rhythm cards in hand, then activate those cards. This could be really good if paired with the Arpeggio rhythm card, since those cost a lot and that'll save you a lot of AP. This is 2 costs and it does a decent amount of damage, but yeah, I definitely see some synergy there with the Arpeggio one, this third 2 cost Spotlight. And then onto the 4th and 5th one, both of these cost 0 cost, which is pretty nice AP friendly cards there. 4th one is going to select up to 3 rhythm cards from among draw pile or graveyard and move those cards to the top of the draw pile, draw 1 of those cards. So this is going to kind of fish out specific rhythm cards that you're trying to get to the top of the draw pile so you can get those. And then onto this 5th Spotlight, you may be thinking this is kind of like a 0 cost draw 2. Yes and no. So if you read the text of those cards, discard all non-rhythm cards. So if you're not drawing rhythm cards, it's going to discard them. So it only keeps the rhythm cards, otherwise it's going to discard them, which some cards do want to get discarded, but depending on the deck, majority of your cards in your deck aren't going to want to be discarded. I wouldn't necessarily look at this as a 0 cost draw 2. It's more of like a draw 2 rhythm cards for 0 cost, not actual draw. But yeah, that's your card Spotlight and all our epiphanies, basically kind of like a little rundown of what you need to know about it. Moving on to our next card called Call and Response. So this first one has Attunement, which is going to draw 2 rhythm cards, and if in hand, treat as a rhythm card. So this Call and Response specific epiphany is going to be treated like a rhythm card. So it's going to be able to be drawn by that 0 cost draw 2 that we just were talking about. Most of these also have haste, so it's not going to be affecting the enemy's action count. The second one, 240% damage times 2. If in draw pile or hand, activate this card when a rhythm card is activated. So you can easily play this second Call and Response for free. All you got to do is just activate a rhythm card and it'll activate this. So some pretty decent and free damage there without having to spend the 2 AP cost of this. A third one, draw 2 rhythm cards. If in draw pile, activate this card when a rhythm card is activated. This is also going to get activated when another rhythm card is going to be used. Definitely see a lot of comboing potential here for her to save a lot of AP. This third Call and Response is kind of similar to that 0 cost Spotlight one with the draw 2 that we just were talking about, with just the fact that the wording is a little bit different. And then moving on to the 4th Call and Response, when a rhythm card is activated, add 1 hit to this card, max 5. I could definitely see this specific Call and Response having a lot of nuke potential if this gets up to like 5 hits. Pretty sure it'll be 6 because the base hit and then it adds 5 hits, so that's going to be a lot of hits. It's going to scale really well with a ton of morale. But yeah, definitely see a lot of potential in this 4th Call and Response for DPS Tenebria. I'm sure there's going to be like support Tenebria, DPS Tenebria. She's probably like going to be able to do a little of both. And then this 5th Call and Response, this one is actually 7 cost. You may be wondering, why is this 7 cost? So this does 700% damage. If in hand, treat as a rhythm card. When a rhythm card is activated, decrease cost of one of this card by 1 until this card is activated. So basically this is practically the same as Kayron's Brand of Annihilation 7 cost, except it's just on Tenebria. Kayron's Brand of Annihilation actually decreases the cost of 1 upon Futility Exhaust, so that goes easily down to 0 cost, which is going to be the same for this Call and Response. You're going to be able to get this to 0 cost, and it's going to stay 0 cost for the entire battle. It's not just like a 1 turn thing. Once you decrease the cost of this card, it's permanent for the entire battle. So yeah, this 5th one will take a little ramp ramp up, but you know, long-term fights, it's gonna be pretty good. It does a lot of damage and has high multipliers. So if you buff this multiplicatively, probably gonna do a ton of damage. And yeah, that's our call and response card, kind of like a little rundown of what you need to know about it. Moving on to our next card called Encore. So starting off with this first Encore, if the last card activated was a rhythm card, activate that card 2 times. Definitely could see a lot of combo potential and shenanigans using this first Encore, activating a bunch of rhythm cards. Also will help scale for your other cards for Tenebria if they scale off of how many rhythm cards you use. And then onto the second Encore, it is an upgrade. If you're familiar with Kayron, this is kind of just like his E2. For every 2 rhythm cards activated, 100% damage to the enemy with the lowest HP, 15 times per turn. So Kayron's E2 actually does like 100% damage also, but I'm pretty sure it's fixed damage for every 2 futility exhausted. This upgrade is basically just like Kayron's E2, but it's like a built-in epiphany without needing like dupes. Onto this third Encore, for the next 3 rhythm cards activated, decrease cost by 1 and add 1 hit. I could definitely see this being used with that other card we just were talking about that gives 6 hits, you know, a ton of multi-hit in Tenebria's kit. She's gonna scale really well with buffs such as morale. But yeah, this fourth Encore, 3 cost, activate all rhythm cards in graveyard. Pretty sure one of her cards scale off of how many rhythm cards are in graveyard, so you're probably gonna have, like, if you're going that specific build, a lot of rhythm cards in graveyard. You can activate them all with a specific Encore. And then onto the 5th Encore, draw 1, 0 cost. This is draw neutral, so you know that is pretty nice. If that card was a rhythm card, increase damage amount by 100% until activated for 1 turn, and repeat 1 more time, max 2 times. So this is kind of just like a draw neutral and, you know, damage buff for your rhythm cards. Also 0 cost, so you're not spending any AP, so basically a free buff. And yeah, that's our Encore card, kind of little rundown on all of them. Moving on to our last card, this is going to be the one without the epiphanies. This is going to be called Photo Time. Unique retain 1 performance buzz. If a rhythm card was activated or moved to hand, increase performance buzz of this card by 1 until activated max 9 times. So we don't know specifically what performance buzz does just yet. At least I didn't see anything saying what this does. So we're probably gonna have to wait until she actually fully releases tomorrow to see what this actually does. But if you do know what this does and I missed something, correct me in the comments. And then moving on to her ego skill, Everyone's Idol. So for the next 7 rhythm cards activated, increase damage amount of rhythm cards by 7%. If activated 7 times, add 1 hit to the next 7 rhythm cards activated. So yeah, from the sound of it, it looks like Tenebria is probably gonna be like a multi-hitter for one of her builds, because she adds a lot of hits to her deck. But this ego skill seems pretty solid. It's just extra damage amount and more hits. So, you know, basically at the end of the day, more damage. As you see in the top left of the ego skill though, 7 blue bars. This is gonna cost 7 ego points. This is gonna be really expensive. You're not gonna be able to use like any other ego skill after using this. So yeah, you're gonna need to save all your ego points for the specific ego skill. And that's gonna be the end of this video. I hope this video was informative. You know, let me know what your guys' thoughts on Tenebria is so far. If you guys are excited for her, if you think she's lackluster, if you're kind of like disappointed. You know, I feel like Tenebria might filter a lot of people just because she has so much text on her cards. A lot of people do not like reading in this game, and I feel like she's gonna be hard to play. She's gonna need a very specific combo. And if you don't play right or specifically, it may be punishing. But as for everything else, I think her aesthetic looks amazing. Her card art looks cool. Her animations, just like her overall entire vibe. And yeah, if you have any other video suggestions, let me know down in the comments. I'll take it into consideration. It's gonna be the end of this video. I hope you guys take care, peace, and be safe. Until the next one.